I've been working on my game full-time for the past 6 months, and in that time, it's seen a lot of changes, but the core goal of leveling up the board game party game genre has been at the heart of the project since its inception. I've never made a 3D game before, or an online game, or worked on any kind of commercial project, and now I find myself solo developing a ridiculously ambitious project that I've been working on for the past 6 months. How did we get here? It all started with how these things usually do.
With an idea.
The idea to have dynamic board elements in one of these party games, to reduce the look needed and increase the skill required to dominate your friends on the board, as well as in a wide variety of minigames to play in between each round. The scope of the game has increased significantly, from something I was hoping to bang out in a few months to something I think could be really special. What started as a portfolio project quickly became a commercial project that I'm fully set on seeing through until the end. Okay, that should be at least 30 seconds. Do I have your attention? I have no idea what I'm doing. How is Party Champ different from other games in the genre? The core mechanic, the dice throw, completely changes how you play the board. On your turn, throw your dice at bonus targets on the map. These targets can increase the value of your dice roll, provide other bonuses in the form of coins or items, and even activate dynamic map events that completely change how you traverse the board, or set traps for other players. Even just throw it at another player's head and chip away at their health bar. It's a lot of fun. Use your dice throw along with other items you collect along the way to sabotage your opponents and catapult yourself to the top of the leaderboard. Throughout the development process, the dice throw mechanic saw various iterations before it got to where it is today. The mechanic presented a unique design challenge. The players need to be able to throw their dice in a 360-degree 3D environment. That means I had to account for the X-Z axis and then also the Y-axis. What kind of controls did I want? How would the players aim? Most games where I would see a similar problem would be in something like golf with your friends. So you'd have full rotation aiming, and then a power bar to gauge how far the ball would be hit in that direction. But that doesn't quite work for my game, because of what I said earlier, the Y-axis. But maybe we could add another button to adjust the height of the throw? With this, I can see players spending a huge amount of time each turn lining up their throw with their target, which in a full lobby of 8 players, even 10 extra seconds per turn would stack up throughout an entire match. And that would also remove a huge amount of skill in hitting bonuses on the board. I thought back to a game from my childhood, Sly 2 Band of Thieves. In that game, the characters used this lob with a very readable 3D arrow trajectory. Now I already had a version of a power bar in place, which worked by oscillating the power variable between 0 and 100. The player would then press a button to stop the power bar on their desired strength for how far of a throw they wanted. The decision for this style was made once again to limit the time of players fine-tuning their throw and to add more skill into the equation. So the plan was simple. Combine the 3D arrow trajectory with the power bar oscillation, and this was the result. From the moment it was implemented, I could tell I made the right choice. You can be really accurate with your throws if you get the right timing, and it's really easy to pick up. The controls are just aim and press one button, which this is supposed to be a casual party game, so it's exactly what I wanted. With a mechanic as unique as being able to throw your dice on the board, you're probably wondering,
what can you even throw it at?
Across the board, I've set up clusters of bonus targets, along with a few singles sprinkled throughout. The most common bonuses are +1s and +2s. These increase the value of your dice roll on the turn that you hit the target. There are 3 rare bonuses that can appear on the board. The coin bonus, which gives you coins, the item bonus, which gives you a random item, and the +5 bonus, which increases your dice roll by, you guessed it, 5 points. And yes, you can hit multiple targets in the same turn. I have plans to do more types of bonuses in the future, and if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments. The board has been meticulously designed with the player's dice throw in mind. Bonus targets are scattered throughout the board in strategic locations. Generally, the outer edges of the board contain an abundance of bonus hitting opportunities, whilst the center area of the board has a much scarcer selection. This is so players naturally end up grouping more often in the middle where there is more choice on how you traverse the board, whereas the outer edges of the board would be farther from the action and leave you at a disadvantage if the diamond tile spawns on the opposite side of the board. The assignment of types of bonuses to targets is random and differs from game to game. Right now, I have it so 5 rare bonuses will appear on the board, and the rest will be common. This should significantly change how the game plays out. Maybe in one game, there's a lot of +5s grouped together at a certain point of the map, so players consistently speed through that section. Or maybe in a different game, there's a lot of coin bonuses spread throughout the map, so the general economy is a lot better. Targets can be hit once per round. This means as the turns progress in a round, the number of bonuses available diminishes. The players that win the minigames and thus roll first in a round will have the most opportunities to hit bonuses. This gives even more incentive to win those minigames in between rounds.
The trials and tribulations of map design.
The map has been through many iterations, some of which were extremely time-consuming. I was not the most experienced 3D artist when I started working on the project. Not only that, but actually figuring out how to design a map to complement the game mechanics proved more difficult than I originally thought. This map was initially called Champ City and was supposed to take place in a city landscape with a whole subway system to traverse the board, a bus tile where you'd spend bus tickets to move to other bus tiles, and lanes of traffic that blocked off shortcuts and changed how you traversed the board. I made a lot of 3D models for this board. Which have all since been scrapped. And if any 3D artists are watching this right now, please avert your eyes.
What? It's just an ordinary... Oh my goodness!
The only real upside to this was that these 3D models really didn't take too long to make. Like, it was a big chunk of work that provided a lot of learning experience, but each model was maybe only an hour long, if even. This was back when I was trying to finish the game as soon as possible, purely to just have something for a portfolio. And regretfully, I did not take the time to learn good topology. However, these new 3D models really did take a long time to make. And were also entirely scrapped. I think I spent 1 entire month making all of these new models. But don't worry, as you'll see later on, 3rd time's the charm. The board was starting to come together, but I just wasn't satisfied with the direction of the art style. I could foresee a lot of design problems coming with the layout of the tiles. Mainly, everything felt too cramped. I wanted to keep players close to each other, but these tile placements really didn't leave much room to put things on the board, and it all felt a bit too claustrophobic. So I spread everything out, which did make a big difference to the feel of the board. But now I noticed how massive it all was. This was going to take a huge amount of time to fill with detail and props, and there were so many elements to the board. What with the train stations, which were going to have animations of the player entering the train and them exiting at another station. And there's 6 stations, by the way, and there's a bus fast travel tile, which would also require a lot of work and animations, and there's 4 lanes of traffic which alternate throughout the game. Do these shortcuts feel redundant? Don't forget the jail system too. This map was starting to feel just a teensy bit over-engineered, and everything needed to be simpler. This is the point where I took a step back from the project and worked out a more clear vision of what it should be. I reorganized and renamed almost every file in the directory. I decided to completely redo the back-end board code and start over almost from scratch. As I said at the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. I've done game development as a hobby and I have a computer science degree, so I do have a good background in programming, but none of this could have prepared me for the amount of work and maintenance required in a large-scale project. There are things that you cannot learn in an academic setting. You can only learn by doing them and making mistakes. It begins to make a lot of sense why so many games don't get built. Technical debt. When foundational systems of a game are made and they aren't built for scale, it becomes exponentially harder to continue working on those systems. And eventually, you either just have to power through the thick strands of spaghetti code or redo entire systems. In early development of a project, it is worth it to spend time redoing it if it means saving potentially weeks of headaches in the future. I decided there were too many problems with the map layout, and it was worth taking back to the drawing board if it meant the final product was something worth playing. Champ Coast began to take shape. Taking what I learned from the Champ City prototype map, I designed Champ Coast to be easier to understand, smaller and more open, and with more recognizable landmarks scattered throughout the map. Originally, the style which I was going for in the earlier iterations of the map were almost like a miniature set with the characters towering over the buildings, but I realized in doing that, I'd actually have to make way more 3D models to fill the space. So in doing this new style, which has the map more to scale of the characters in it, I don't need to make as many 3D models, which as it stands is the bulk of my time spent developing the game. The art style of my game has changed a lot throughout its development. From its pale, washed-out beginnings to its bright, high-contrast, colourful destination. There's influence from various sources, but I can't think of another game that looks like it. I tried to create a unique art style that hopefully stands out among its competitors.
What's with the outlines?
I created this black outline effect using the inverted hull method. This works by duplicating the model's mesh, coloring it black and inverting the normals, which basically means only the inside polygons of the mesh are visible. For static decoration objects, I can manually do this in Blender, which gives me a lot of control in fine-tuning how the outline wraps around the geometry. But for more complicated models like the player character, it makes more sense to use a shader. This will prevent ugly overlaps in the outline in the future. The shader works by creating the outline mesh at runtime and then draws it behind the original mesh. This has its limitations, such as players' outlines not overlapping other players, but that actually works for our benefit as well when applying player cosmetics. The player characters and board tiles are artificially lit to make them more visible on the map and stand out from the background. My plan was to make the visuals high contrast so that the game looks good in screenshots and in compressed video files. Even things like the players' eyes and mouths are always bright, which should make the facial expressions more visible in gameplay. The map primarily uses baked lighting except for certain effects that show up from landing on tiles. Paired together with some 2D images, it makes for some nice glow effects. I want each map to have its own distinct color palette and theme, with unique mechanics tied to each board. This map's main gimmick is the traffic light tiles. Throw your dice at the traffic light buttons hovering over the road to toggle the traffic lane. Cross over safely when the lights are green, or time your crossing just right when the lights are red and weave in between the moving cars. Just remember to look both ways. The traffic lane mechanic from the prototype has been redesigned and simplified. The single road now divides the map into two halves. It stands as the centerpiece mechanic of the board. There are 4 crossover points on the road, designed so if you miss one of them, you'll have another chance to cross over on the next turn. As long as the road is active, it is safe to land on the crossover tiles. However, if another player hits the lights button on their turn, those crossover tiles become unsafe real fast. Best not to stop on those tiles unless you're absolutely sure another player isn't in range to toggle them on. And as I said, you can still cross over when the road is active, you just have to time it right. Champ Coast has one more board-specific mechanic, the property tiles. When a player lands on one of these tiles, they get the opportunity to buy it and build either a hotel or a toll gate. The hotel tile heals the owner whenever they land on it, and initially when they purchase it. But if an opponent lands on it, they must pay a hefty fee to the owner. The toll gate works by instead taxing opponents a small fee whenever they pass over the tile. The toll gate is a no-brainer to buy in the early rounds, but if it's late game or your health is low, it might make more sense to purchase the hotel. The board can interact with players in various ways, from objects that bounce the player's dice farther distances or allow for trick shots that stack up multiple bonuses in a single roll. The board also has
Danger tiles.
When a player lands on a danger tile, they are but one switch flip away from instant death. Wherever there be a danger tile, there be a danger target nearby. Activating the danger target brings a punishing end to any player unlucky enough to be standing on the corresponding tiles. The pipe drop also provides a temporary 2-tile skip, only active for the remainder of the round it's activated on. Like other targets, it can be activated once per round. This feature may even be used to help other players, as it can be activated regardless of whether a player is on a danger tile. Along with using your dice to inflict damage to other players and boost your roll, you'll collect items during the match, both on the board and from winning minigames. I have a few items implemented right now, but I think I want to save them to be fully revealed in another video when I have even more items completed. A big part of this game is how much control the players have over tweaking their experience. I like to think of this like how every group of players has slightly different rules when they play Monopoly. Sometimes free parking is just a free spot to land on and doesn't reward you with all the money that's been paid to the bank thus far. Different people can play the game however they want. And with this in mind, I have given a fair bit of control to the host to adjust rules and disable features to tailor the experience to what they want. You can even go as far as to disable the dice throw and just play the game as if it were more similar to a Mario Party game. Everything here is subject to change, so until the demo is released, expect some features to be changed or removed. One feature I really like is that you can save a custom preset of rules, as well as use some presets I've included for different game modes. This video is probably long enough already, so I think I'll leave the customization for the next video when I have the player lobby completed. Expect more videos to come soon as I'm finishing the public demo and setting up the Steam page over the coming months. If you made it this far, please subscribe and like the video. It really does help with visibility, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.